This video is brought to you by Straight Goods News, Canada's alternative online news source. Visit straightgoods.ca.
What do these numbers mean for Canadian standard of living?
Well, when you look at what's happened over the past few years, we're looking at record levels of indebtment on Canadian families. Now we're looking at falling real wages. We're looking at increasing unemployment, increasing poverty. I mean, it all adds up to a very toxic mix for Canadian families. And what surprises me is that the government just seems to continue to look out with rose-colored glasses rather than taking action when Canadian families are struggling.
Well, in the last 6 months, I looked at the figures. Wage increases have gone from 4.1% to 1.1%. I mean, they've been dropping at half a point every month, steadily. And this is about 1/3 the inflation rate right now. I mean, people's standard of living are actually dropping rather than
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's the real problem. We're seeing a fall in wages. Canadians are poor. They're poorer now than they were last year. So this is not a time for the government to say, as it seems to pretend, that they want to go ahead with an austerity budget. This is the time to really invest to help Canadian families. And it's a matter of real concern, should be to any policymaker, when real wages are falling at such a dramatic way. And when you look over a course of a year, 2% less when Canadians are struggling with record levels of indebtment is something that the Canadian government, the Harper government, should be looking at.
What could they be doing? What should they be doing?
Well, we've been saying they need to put a jobs policy in place rather than an austerity budget, which would cut services to middle class and poor Canadian families. What they need to look at in a very serious way is addressing the income gap and inequality, looking at the fall in jobs, and also not just the quantity of jobs that we're losing, the quality of jobs. The jobs that the Conservatives have managed to find, and we can quibble over how many they actually got over the last few years, pay about $10,000 less than the jobs that they've lost. So what we're seeing is whatever new jobs the Conservatives plan is able to put together have actually paid far less. So we're depressing wages. And what we need is a jobs plan that actually looks to value-added exports and looks in a way that actually creates jobs that pay more than the jobs that they were.
What do you say when Flaherty keeps saying the same thing? 600,000 jobs created. I mean, in essence, he is right. That is the record.
Not since May 2008. Since May 2008, they've created less than 200,000 jobs, and the labor force grew by over 450,000 job seekers. So what we're actually saying since May 2008, and that's what StatsCan confirms, they've actually fallen 250,000 jobs behind from just standing still, just treading water. That's a serious problem when we're not even keeping up with the labor market. So what surprises me about Mr. Flaherty is he seems to be looking at things with rose-colored glasses, seems more inclined to attack the NDP than to attack unemployment, attack poverty, and attacking growing inequality in this country. And that's not a good recipe for Canadian families.
I was going to say, well, this is happening. People at the top of the scale are getting rapidly richer.
Yes, absolutely. We're seeing more concentration of income than we've seen before in our history. You have to go back to the 1920s to find similar levels of inequality to what we're seeing today. So Canadian families are really struggling. The StatsCan figures today confirm that. We need a government that's going to take action and really address ordinary families' concerns. My concern is that this government doesn't even seem to care. They just seem to be more concerned with floating out their talking points than taking real action to help struggling Canadian families.
Why do you think it's been dropping so precipitously? I mean, I know what you're saying about the new jobs, but in April, job gains or wage gains was 4%, which is above inflation. All of a sudden, we're 1/3 of inflation. So why has it dropped so dramatically in the last 6 months?
Well, it's been dropping gradually. If you look over the past year, there have been exceptional months, and those are anomalies. But when you look at the overall trend over the past few years, what we're seeing is lower wage jobs replacing higher wage jobs. We're seeing more and more part-time and temporary jobs, which aren't family-sustaining jobs. We're seeing more and more levels of indebtment because Canadian families aren't getting the real wages that they're entitled to through their work and productivity. So they're going into debt to try to maintain the same standard of living. That's a toxic mess, and all of those should be no surprise to this government because they've been developing over time.